Hello again, fancy seeing you here. So today we're going to talk about vulnerability. Again, another topic super close to my heart and a really natural lead on from yesterday's conversation around authenticity. So vulnerability is defined as the quality or state of being exposed to the possibility of being attacked or harmed, either physically or emotionally. That's a good little definition to mull over. The possibility of being attacked or harmed, either physically or emotionally. Today we're going to be chatting a bit about Brene Brown, and she is the expert on vulnerability. If you're not familiar with her work, you will be by the end of today. And a lovely little quote from Brene Brown. I've got a few absolutely beautiful ones here. Vulnerability is the birthplace of innovation, creativity, and change. And vulnerability sounds like truth and feels like courage. Truth and courage aren't always comfortable, but they're never weaknesses. And vulnerability it's a courageous act because it's our ability to be completely real and completely honest, completely authentic, despite the fact we're scared and despite the fact we feel like we could be harmed in being so completely honest and raw. And when we think about vulnerability, we can often think about kind of raw emotions. We can talk about people just feeling upset or being sad and not hiding that, not disguising it. So we're going to talk a little bit more about Brene Brown's body of work. So in case you're not familiar with her, she's a research professor. She's written a few amazing books. One of them, Daring Greatly, The Courage to be Vulnerable Transforms the Way We Live, Love, Parent, and Lead. Very famous TED Talk, one on vulnerability, another one on shame. And she talks about and defines vulnerability as basically uncertain risk and emotional exposure. So if we're raised in an environment where it's about getting stuff done, about plowing through, like chin up, just let it happen, don't feel your feelings, don't let them get in the way, then you may not have had too much training early on around how to be vulnerable. And in particular, vulnerability up until kind of recently is a trait that, especially in men, was viewed as a level of weakness, to show your feelings, to be scared. But now what we're seeing is there's actually so much courage to be honest rather than pretend. You know, it's a much braver act to be honest about how you feel despite the risk. And this is what Brene Brown talks about a lot, because it's the courage and the strength to be out in the arena and be real. And it's very easy to sit on the sidelines and be judgmental and wear a mask, but in wearing a mask, you don't get to truly connect. And this is why the topics of both authenticity and vulnerability are very close to my heart, because in my personal story, I used to pretend that I was okay. And on the outside, things were shiny. You know, I was launching another podcast, I was doing another event, and it was all good. But on the inside, I was dying. You know, I was falling over, and relapsing in alcoholism. Things were really dire. And I was making up all these excuses as to why I wasn't able to attend my own events. And there was a point where I got up the courage to be really honest and real, authentic and vulnerable with people who frankly intimidated the hell out of me. And there was a risk. Like, if these people judged me, they were peers. They were also people that I do some work with. You know, there's a real risk in being honest with them. But I think the risk for me was far greater of lying and pretending, because then the risk for me is when I was lying, I wasn't true to myself, I wasn't living in my values, and I didn't like who I was. And the risk was in pretending. Well, these relationships were based on falsehoods. They weren't real. And so, you know, I got up the courage to say, look, I'm not okay. This is what's happening with me. And I was really honest about it. And I was so blown away by the response that I got. And in essence, it was, you know, the courage that you have to be honest and real and vulnerable is overwhelming. We're in such deep awe and respect of you. And I was blown away. And you know, it was a really pivotal point in my life, because now the richness and the depth in my life is due to the richness and the depth of the connections I have with the human spirit, with other beautiful people in my life. And that comes down to the fact that there's none of this, I've got a mask on and I'm pretending I'm okay, and you've got a mask on and you're pretending you're okay. We're actually being real to who we are in here right now and sharing from heart to heart. And the depth of the relationships that I have based on that authenticity and vulnerability is just, I'm so grateful. It's one of the things I'm most grateful for in life. Yeah, and I think we did great. We did gratitude before. I'm pretty grateful. So you've got my take on this again. I'm going to see if there's some more that I want to. Another beautiful quote from Brené Brown. Because also some people don't want to be vulnerable because they think that they'll let down the facade that they've got it all going on, or especially in a professional setting, they think they can't show their imperfections because it'll be seen as weaknesses. And but really, people want us to be honest. They want us to say, I don't know, let me find the answer, rather than like, bullshit. Everyone knows when you're bullshitting. And if they don't, that's a problem as well. Another quote from her: the difficult thing is that vulnerability is the first thing I look for in you and the last thing I'm willing to show you. In you, it's courage and daring. It's me. In me, it's weakness. And this is the problem we have with vulnerability. Sometimes we can respect it in other people, but we think for ourselves to be vulnerable shows that I don't really have my shit together. So it's just a beautiful reminder, but that's actually what other people are craving in you, that honest connection and that vulnerability. So thank you for being here with me today, for sharing this journey. Authenticity, vulnerability, so powerful, life-changing. Look forward to hearing your thoughts on the topic as well.